Welcome to Community, the TV show. I'm Kathy Antunes, guest hosting for Annette Sherman. Today we have with us David Beaton, who is the founder and, of course, a board member at Wslr in Fogartyville. Dave, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And with Dave, we have Carmela Pedicini. That's Pedicini with a P, right, Carmela?
Yeah.
Carmela is a singer. She's with the group Passerine, which is a much beloved musical group in Sarasota. And you also have just joined the board of Wslr. So
Yeah.
Carmela, thank you so much for joining us as well.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I have to say I also work at Wslr. I have a radio show there, which I'm thrilled to be able to do. But Dave, you started this radio station about 15 years ago. How about you tell us what inspired you?
It was more like 17 years ago.
Okay.
And I should make one correction. I'm not on the board any longer.
Okay.
I'm one of the managers of the station. So about 17 years ago, the government opened up a window for community nonprofits to apply for low-power FM licenses. We missed the window, but some of the new college kids in their organization applied for that window, as well as a local veterinarian. And we had friends, we were friends with the local veterinarian, and so he found this task to start a radio station. It was a big job that he couldn't handle it, and so we helped him with his application, and then we merged with the new college students.
And at the time, Dave, you have taught, we'll get into your background and Carmela yours too, but at the time you were teaching film and video at State College of Florida.
At that time it was Manatee Community College. Yep, I was
Okay.
teaching and working at Manatee Community College. So I had an interest in media and especially community media.
Yeah, well, we have some video of Wslr and Fogartyville, so maybe we can take a look at that.
Sure.
And we'll talk about it some more.
Yeah. It gives me joy every day seeing local people come in and produce radio.
It's people doing what they love. They're all volunteers. We only have one paid position at the station, one full-time paid position, and 2 or 3 paid interns, minimum wage. And the rest are doing it because they love the idea, love the station.
So I love that video that you all put together. I have to say that when I walked into Wslr for the first time, I was so taken with the sense of camaraderie and community and just the wonderful people who work there. And as you say, there's only one paid position, but the radio station has really grown over the years. And Carmela, maybe you can tell us the mission statement. I know that's something you wanted to share.
Sure, because that was the part, when I decided that I'd love to be involved with Wslr in a bigger way as a board member. This is why. So Wslr in Fogartyville is a center for creative expression and community engagement that amplifies the voice of our diverse community and promotes peace, sustainability, democracy, and economic and social justice. Why would you not want to be a part of that?
That's right. That's a great mission statement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
it's an honor.
And you have been in Florida. There's not too many native Floridians.
Right.
Right? You've been in Florida for your whole life. Why don't you tell us a bit about where you grew up?
Well, I was born in Bradenton, which is our next door neighbor, and went to school there. Raised 2 children in Sarasota, so my kids got to grow up really being here their whole lives. And I've watched the communities grow. I met Dave Beaton at Manatee Community College. We actually sat in a field one day and we were the only members watching the Ducks, which are now a very famous band. And we were just like, it's just the 2 of us. And it was, so we've really watched it grow, and I've been a musician here. I played at Foley's. Nobody remembers Foley's on Main Street when I was 18 years old, which was one of the oldest bars at the time, or lounges. But I've been playing music here since I was a kid.
You've been playing music. You also, the shows on Wslr run the gamut. They're very eclectic.
She also was a host of a public
Yes.
affairs show.
Tell us
Yeah.
about what your work at the radio station,
Right.
because that show was
So as a musician, I wear a hat, but I also have been involved with families and birth for over 20 years. I've worked at birthing homes. I'm a nurse and I'm a lactation specialist. So one day Arlene Sweeting handed me a disc and said, I would like to know if you would just listen to this show, make sure it's proper for our show. And it was National Breastfeeding Week. So of course I was all about that. And I gathered some friends and she let us go in the studio just as a community offering for 1 hour. And when we left there, we had fathers that came in with us and talked about supporting their wives and mothers. And I walked out of there and I said, we have to make a show. And we had a show within a month. And I remember Dave saying, will you have enough material as time goes on? And yes, we did. And it was called Maternally Yours. And it was Ryan Stanley and Laura Gilkey, Cheryl Kindred and myself started it. And then we also brought Dana Merle King in later on. And now her and Ryan have a show still. So
this show was nationally syndicated, wasn't it?
it brought,
Carried by 3 or 4 stations?
Yeah.
Yeah, nationally, because one of the great things about the radio station is the potential for reach beyond. It's part of the Pacifica network,
Right.
isn't it? So it's a great incubator, I think, for local creatives to decide, this is something I want to put out there. They can put together a program plan and then potentially have a show go national.
Right.
So you saw that happen with at least one show.
Yes, and with the internet now, radio is just one of the components that people listen to. So we have archive.wslr.org, which has all our shows on it. So it's not just that you can listen on your radio, but you can listen at any time as if it's a podcast.
Yeah.
archive.wslr.org.
Yeah.
So if you find a favorite show and you missed it, you can tune in then and listen to it. But that also means that anywhere around the world, anybody can listen to it.
Yes,
So.
I've been volunteering for the pledge drive
Yeah.
and got a phone call from Iceland that
Oh.
there's a gentleman who listens in Iceland to the radio station because the music that's played
Yeah.
is very eclectic and such really great music.
We should talk about that the station has a mix of music and public affairs. So it's about 60% music and 40% public affairs. And the music shows mostly are local individuals that have put together shows that have weekly shows that they do. And the public affairs is a mix of local talent as well as some nationally downloaded shows. We carry Tom Hartman. He's a national show coming out of Washington, D.C. We carry Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! To another national show to give you international news and information.
Yeah.
So it's a broad spectrum. We like to tell people if you hear something you like, try to tune in that same time the following week. you know.
Right, or go to the archive,
Or go to
like
the
you
archive,
say,
yeah.
you can always do that. My show is on local politics, but another show on local issues is the Waterkeepers.
Yes.
And they just had a big win. Justin Bloom, who
Right.
it's his show along with Andy Melee, getting Sarasota County to abide by the Clean Water Act and make sure our drinking water and the bay isn't polluted with red tide.
So that's community media, is we try to inform the community about local issues and then people can decide to take action, either contacting their representative or
Yeah.
coming to a meeting, something like that. So that's the important thing about media, is trying to create an informed public. But the other thing is we teach people how to do radio too. And in these days, everybody likes to be listened to. So if you have a radio show, you are listened to,
Yep.
and you can get your opinion about the music you like out there or your opinion about some kind of social issue. That's what you do on your show.
Yes, yeah.
And it's called, what's your show
The
called?
Detail.
The Detail.
It's on Thursdays at 9. Shameless
Thursdays.
plug.
Yeah.
But Dave, what possesses somebody to work so hard? I mean, you and Arlene Sweeting, and who was the other founder? You had 3 founders.
Well, there was actually 4.
Okay.
2 new college students, Bo Bentley and The other name escapes me at this
Okay,
moment. It'll
well,
come
if
to
it
me.
pops in, you can tell us.
Yes,
But
there were, myself and Arlene and 2 new college students came together and built trust. And you want to say what motivates us, and that is, I think, the key word. By having people communicate and you listen and understand them, you build trust with each other. You may doesn't necessarily agree, but you build trust. And when you have trust in the community, it makes a stronger community.
yeah,
People walk through our doors. I mean, on every year when the snowbirds come down, people will walk through our doors and say, you know, you're one of the reasons we moved here. It may not be the main reason,
Really?
but they come and say, you know, when we look at a community, we look to see if they have a community radio station. Because we know that the community then is more active. Because now WSLR is not just a radio station, but it's WSLR plus Fogartyville.
yes, and Fogartyville
Plus Fogartyville.
is an entertainment venue.
Exactly.
But also you have town halls. So
Yes.
people come together to listen to music and the town halls. And Carmela, maybe you can fill us in because,
And Carmela has played there.
yeah,
yes.
you've been a performing artist there. What's it like to perform in Fogartyville as an artist? I know it's gaining a reputation among musicians as
Right.
being a great venue. Why is that?
It is the finest listening room in anywhere in the area in Sarasota, Manatee counties and beyond. You will go in and the audience, they want to hear what you have to say. They want to hear what you have to sing. And they are responsive in such a positive way. And there are, like I think someone mentioned, the artists are actually coming to Fogartyville now and saying, can we play in your venue because you have such a great reputation.
Yeah.
So,
Because I've
And
heard.
it's not just the room, because the audience makes the room.
yeah.
Right.
So the audience knows when they come that they're here to honor the artist that's playing. Just as you would go to the symphony, you wouldn't talk during the symphony.
Right.
And so this is Americana, folk, blues, jazz, a whole variety of music,
Latin.
world music,
Latin,
Latin.
world music, yeah.
Well, in that sense, the people want to dance. you
Yes,
know,
that's
so-
true. It's that music makes you move.
Right.
But the thing about that is with this quality of an audience, the quality of the music,
Yes.
really talented people have come through
Yeah.
and continue to come to Fogartyville to play. I mean, I know my husband's a huge music lover. He was blown away by some of the Latin acts that you've had. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, and because we've had them, it also makes the performers, when they know they have that audience, the performers practice and they play harder and they craft their, when you know you're playing the stage at Fogartyville and people are going to be listening to you, you're going to try harder and work harder as a musician, as an artist. Coming up, this year we have a national touring duo coming, Peter Asher and Albert Lee. Peter Asher was the Peter of Peter and Gordon back in the 60s, and he went on to become Apple Records A&R rep and then become a very famous producer. Produced mostly everything Linda Ronstadt did, and James Taylor, and many other artists. And he'll be there with Albert Lee, who's one of
Eric Clapton. Yeah,
Eric
this was a
Clapton's-
quote you provided. Eric Clapton calls Albert Lee the ultimate virtuoso. It's if he's Eric Clapton's favorite,
Right.
he's
Right.
got to be pretty good, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so when are they coming?
They're coming November 21st and November 22nd.
Okay.
It's a little bit higher price than normal, but to get this kind of a national act, we had to do that. And there will actually be a VIP session with them earlier on in the evening if people want a more intimate with them. Although Fogartyville is only 120 seats, so it's a very intimate venue.
And so you really get to experience the music. And that's a great way to kick off Thanksgiving week. Wouldn't that be
Yes,
right
it's
before
Yeah.
Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving
There's
early
a lot
this
of
year, or is it
people.
late? I don't know.
I think
It's
it's the
late.
week of Thanksgiving, but that
Oh.
either way,
Right.
if it's before or after, you're going to be able to really kind of kick back and enjoy something special.
Right.
Yeah, so Dave, you hail from Michigan
Yes.
and you went to Michigan State. You studied communications
I
there.
studied communication there, and I worked on college radio. And college radio at that time in the 70s was very free form and gave a lot of, so I was able to experiment with a lot of different music and expand at that age, to expand my taste in music. So I like all genres of music. And then for discipline, I went and worked at the NPR station on campus and was a jazz programmer there, as well as broadcast the baseball games.
Oh, cool.
So,
yeah.
and I've always had an interest in news, so radio just seemed a great place for me to land. Radio has a particular quality because when people talk or tell a story on radio or play music, you can then create your own visuals. You can then see whatever the issue is. When someone says red tide, your images come to your mind. Or you hear Grateful Dead music, you might think about dancing or tie-dye.
Yeah.
So it engages the listener different than television.
Absolutely. I know one of the things that my parents, which particularly my father, I grew up during TV,
Right.
but he had such fond memories, still talks about the magic of radio and how you can really come together and, like as you say, use your imagination and listening. So how did you come to Sarasota, Dave?
Well,
From Michigan.
as many people come to Sarasota, I came to take care of my grandmother.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I moved actually from Michigan to Chicago, had a career there, and then was in a career change, and I took a break to come visit my grandmother and take care of her, and ended up staying here, and my parents followed, and later on, Arlene and myself started the Fogartyville Cafe because we wanted to keep that create and keep a sense of community, and that's kind of then evolved into the radio.
Yeah, so you and Arlene are real powerhouses, and did you meet here, or did you all know each
Yeah,
other?
we met up in Bradenton where
Oh,
the
okay.
original Fogartyville Cafe was. Yeah.
Okay,
and
so-
actually Carmela's group, which one?
It was Radio Free Carmela and the Transmitters was the original group that that I found
Your
my way
music
into
group.
the house of Fogartyville. But Fogartyville, that's historic because that's one of the original areas of Manatee County, Bradenton. So that really came about there. So historically.
Yeah, we adopted that name because it was a town in Manatee County that kind of got enveloped by Bradenton. And so we wanted to kind of give that name back because Fogartyville maybe was a smaller town where everybody knew your name.
Where everybody knew
Right,
each other.
right.
Yeah, it's very much like that at WSLR, the sense of community. Carmela, you joined the board recently.
Yeah.
Yes. What's that like now? I know it's early in your tenure, but why did you decide to contribute that way?
With the name Radio Free Carmela, I was named that because I'm a talker.
Okay.
And I have a voice. And so, and all the work that I've always done has been with my voice. And if I wanted to be involved in something, community-driven, community honorable, it would be something like Fogartyville. So I'd never been on a board before, and I actually reached out to them and said, this is something that I would really love to learn about and be involved with more, and something that I respect so much, WSLR and Fogartyville. So I'm actually, I pursued them. They didn't pursue me, and I hope that I can be good for that and good for them.
She's a member of the programming committee too, which
Yes.
is kind of the heart and soul of the radio station.
The program,
Yep.
because that's where it all happens,
Yeah.
right? The creative offerings, and
Right.
people put a lot of effort into selecting the music that they play. How do you choose a show?
Well,
How do you choose to do a show?
we do go back to our mission statement a lot of times, so and whatever has evolved from the mission statement. So we do look at diversity is one of the things. We also look at student involvement, and we have to look at our current schedule, which can be found in the Critical Times.
Which is another affiliated
Yes.
media outlet for
Right.
you all.
So we've
Critical
evolved
Times.
from radio to a community space to now a newspaper that comes out 4 times a year. So we look at what the needs are, we think, that are in the community for a radio show. If you were going to do a radio show about snowmobiling, we would probably say it's probably better suited for Michigan,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
Right. But if you're going to do something on holistic health, this community is very big in holistic health. And one of our programmers that have left us and gone on was Eve Prang-Plews, and she had one of the best, I think, nationally, holistic health programs on the radio. So those are kind of the needs, and so we're open to that. We are a nonprofit, so, and we are licensed by the federal government, so we have to abide by nonprofit rules as well as the FCC rules. So there are some parameters that individuals have to fit in to have a show. And we also require people with shows to volunteer.
Yes, I know about that.
Yes, exactly.
Because we all are required to volunteer, and then,
You might be working behind the bar. I think I've seen you behind the bar.
well, not actually the town halls is how I volunteered mainly, and writing for the Critical Times. Yes,
right.
but that is an option. But these town halls, when did they start? Because that's been a great way to discuss issues in the community where people can interact, not just hear a show, but actually be there and ask questions.
I would say they started 2016 is when we started. So only the last 2 years we've been doing these town halls. We had meetings before that, for sure, but I think we're looking at more of a continual schedule, and because you're new to WSLR,
Relatively,
correct?
yeah.
Right.
Yep,
And
I
finding that host or that person that makes that particular show is critical to finding the right person. Because I can do a lot of the technology, but there are many hats to wear in a radio show or in a town hall meeting.
Right.
So,
Yeah, one of the town halls, I think it might have been my first town hall, we talked about dark money in Sarasota,
Oh.
local dark money, which, is
Right.
a topic that
And
was
we've
new
had
to a lot of people.
the police chief, right? I believe the police
Bernadette
chief.
DePino,
right,
the
the-
Sarasota's police chief.
The manager, Tom Barwin.
Tom Barwin, Jennifer Ahern Koch, the city manager.
Right.
There was Chief Enos, who is the school district's police chief. So it's been
Shirley Brown.
the school board. Yeah, so this is another aspect. It's a pretty impressive menu that WSLR offers and Fogartyville. So Carmela, tell us a little bit though about your music. I have never had the opportunity to hear your group, but I know that this is a group that's much beloved in Sarasota. And what genre? It might be hard to define. I think of it as folk.
Yes.
But what do you play?
So
and
well, I
sing?
play guitar and I sing, and we have a fiddle player. We have a bass player, plays a big bass fiddle, and a dobro player with a resonator guitar. So we're not bluegrass, but we play bluegrass tunes. We're not folk, but we play folk tunes. And so I guess we're more Americana. Or as our fiddle player says, we're Amerikinda grass.
America.
So we don't have a banjo in our group, but so we can't really be a bluegrass band. And we
Yeah.
plug in.
So a little bit
so
of
we do a little bit of everything, and it's fun and it's sweet, and we love that we're from here. This is our hometown.
It
so.
is. It's an indigenous sound.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So I will say to people, if Sarasota's in a drought, just ask us to play anywhere outdoors, and you will get a good rainstorm. Because
Right.
every time we play here,
That's true.
it rains.
I
Like the
have
cafe
heard
in the
At
park,
Cafe
right?
in the
Cafe in the
Park, which
Park.
we love, and that's another local place that also has a lot of acts that come through Fogartyville. Will play at
Yeah.
Cafe in the Park, so
They
another
will.
local community offering.
So how do people learn more? How do they learn about, if they want to go to Fogartyville, or they want to volunteer, or even create a show?
Well, you need to check us out. So one, I would check us out at 96.5 on your FM dial. And most people listen in their car these days. We do have an app, a WSLR app in the Android store or Apple store. You can also listen online at wslr.org. You can also listen at archive.wslr.org, or you can come out and visit us. This, what would be, well, this show might not air at that time, but we do have Very Merry Jerry Day, which we've
is
moved to November,
An annual event.
an annual event. And this is one of our T-shirts that we sell there, and
Yep.
that people then tie-dye it as well. So it's an annual event. So you could come out to any of our events, and our events are on our website at wslr.org.
And you're at 525 Kumquat.
Oh,
That's
yes.
the
you
address,
can, there is
right?
a physical address.
There
you
is
can
a-
stop in.
Yeah.
In
Five-
actual, you're in the Rosemary District.
Yes, we are in the Rosemary District, 525 Kumquat Court. There's a
Yep.
front and a rear entrance, and you could try knocking at either one. You might get an
Okay.
answer. We have a food truck in the patio, so if you're wondering about, well, if I go to a performance or something, will I be able to get a bite to eat? We have a food truck that is run by Richard's Kitchen.
Chef
and
Richard,
Chef
the
Richard,
Kumquat
that's it.
Kitchen.
Yes,
I've heard the food is good.
yes.
It's great.
Yeah. And
And
so
the music's great. And the company is great.
And people can volunteer, they just call the station? Is
When
there
you,
a phone number?
You can call the station at 941-894-6469. Or when you come to an event, you can sign up for our email list, and you can put a V after your name, and we'll put you in our volunteer list and give you a call. We do a volunteer orientation bi-monthly, so then you can get a tour, an inside tour, and we can tell you what kind of needs we have.
Okay, and your newspaper, The Critical Times,
Look for
where
it
is
at-
that? Where
yeah.
can people find that?
You can look for that at Selby Library. You can pick one up at the radio station and a few other locations around town. We want to put it in your hand, so we don't leave it everywhere.
Okay.
We pass it out at our events, and you can come get some for your group or community group. And Selby Library has them. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So volunteering, creating your own show is an
Yes.
option, right? You come up with a plan and
Become a
approach the board?
Become a citizen reporter. You know, if you've wanted to report on local issues, we'll train you in citizen reporting. So many ways you can get involved. Or if you want to work in the back office, you want to help us do the record library or the CD library.
It's an impressive library. The
Yeah.
CDs lined the walls everywhere in the station. I was kind of blown away the first time I went into the back room and saw that music library. It was pretty impressive.
And we're on 24/7. So 24 hours a day, programming is on the air,
Yeah, yeah.
7 days a week.
Yeah, so people need to keep an eye on this impressive lineup of musicians that are going to be coming through.
Actually, Pat
Oh, yeah.
Serene may be playing in May, I believe, right, at the Laurel Canyon.
That's correct, yes. So we're going to do a show based on the music and the musicians of Laurel Canyon.
Okay.
So that would have been Linda Ronstadt, you know,
That's
that
right.
would have been Crosby, Stills and Nash. And
James
All
Taylor
right.
was there.
James Taylor was
Well,
there. And
I want to thank you both for everything you're
Thank
doing
you.
for our community. It's a very impressive menu of offerings that you all have at WSLR. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and we'll look for you at Fogartyville.
Yep.
Excellent,
Okay.
thank you.
The time really flew. We bid you adieu from community. If you want to know why we love it here, so check out Community. Well, it's a who's who, a what's, when, and where show. It's a mover and shakers who care show. Meet your neighbors and friends, each one has a passion. The topics vary from nature to